Imagine this. Someone stands in front of you, visibly agitated. Their voice is loud. Their words are sharp. Their entire posture is built around one demand, a reaction. They want anger. They want defense. They want you to step into the emotional storm they have created. Because inside that storm, they feel alive. They feel powerful. Now imagine you deny them that. You do not interrupt. You do not explain. You do not mirror their intensity. You simply remain still. Your face gives them nothing to grab onto. Your eyes do not challenge or submit. Your body does not signal threat or fear. In that moment, something subtle but profound occurs. The dynamic breaks. What was once aggression turns into confusion. Confusion turns into uncertainty. And uncertainty quietly transforms into unease. Because they realize something terrifying. They cannot reach you. They cannot read you. And therefore they cannot control you. Human beings are not disturbed by resistance as much as they are disturbed by opacity. The mind is built to predict, to anticipate response, to stabilize reality through feedback. When that feedback disappears, the nervous system panics. This is why unreadable people provoke such intense reactions. They create a psychological vacuum, and nature does not tolerate vacuums. Into that silence, people project their insecurities, their fears, their assumptions. You say nothing, they tell themselves everything. This ability to remain internally untouched while the world throws itself at you has always been rare, and it has always been feared. Centuries ago, in an environment where one misplaced word could end a life, certain men noticed a pattern. Those who reacted openly were predictable, and predictability made them vulnerable. Those who mastered restraint, ambiguity, and silence survived, not because they were stronger, but because they were unreadable. Most men today believe they are free, but their moods are controlled by traffic, their self-worth by approval, their behavior by provocation. An insult pulls anger, a compliment pulls compliance, a threat pulls fear. Invisible strings everywhere. They confuse reaction with authenticity. But there is another way to exist. A way that does not depend on suppression or emotional numbness. A way that does not require dominance through volume or force. It requires containment. It requires the ability to endure tension without resolving it. To sit inside silence without filling it. To allow others to reveal themselves while you remain intact. This skill is not loud. It does not announce itself. It does not seek admiration. And that is precisely why it terrifies those who lack it. Because when you cannot be read, you cannot be steered. When you do not react, you cannot be baited. When you no longer need to be understood, you become impossible to manipulate. What follows is not philosophy designed to comfort you. It is a dissection of reaction itself. An examination of why most men live inside stimulus and response and how a small group step outside of it. This path will feel unnatural, cold, even alien at first. Good warmth is for those who need reassurance. What you are about to explore is control. And control begins the moment you stop giving the world access to your inner weather. Before any philosophy, before any strategy, there is the body. Most men believe their reactions are choices. They are not. They are reflexes written into the nervous system long before language ever formed. A sudden tone change triggers adrenaline. A perceived slight tightens the chest. A challenge activates the urge to respond immediately. This is ancient wiring. The human brain evolved to survive in small groups where status shifts meant life or death. A look could signal threat. A tone could signal exclusion. Reaction was speed. Speed was survival. But in the modern world, this same wiring becomes a liability. The body reacts faster than the mind can interpret. Emotion surges before meaning is assigned. And once emotion rises, behavior follows. This is the string. Pull it, and the body moves. Insults pull anger. Disrespect pulls defensiveness. Approval pulls compliance. Rejection pulls anxiety. Most men live like marionettes, convinced they are autonomous, while every movement is triggered from the outside. They say, "That made me angry," as if anger arrived independently. What they mean is, something touched the string, and I moved. This is why provocation works. Not because the provoker is strong, but because the target is predictable. A man who reacts on cue advertises his control panel. His buttons are visible, accessible, exploitable. Once those buttons are known, influence becomes effortless. This is true in arguments, in negotiations, in relationships, in hierarchies. Those who can provoke reaction dictate tempo. Those who cannot are forced to respond. This is not a moral failure. It is a biological one. Your nervous system is optimized for immediacy, not strategy, for survival, not dominance. Unreadability begins when this chain is interrupted, not by suppressing emotion. Suppression creates pressure and eventual eruption. But by delaying expression, a pause between stimulus and response may seem insignificant. It is not. That pause is the birthplace of autonomy. Inside it, you reclaim authorship. You feel the surge, but you do not obey it. You allow the signal to pass without translating it into action. This feels wrong at first. The body demands discharge. It wants release. It wants resolution. But if you endure the discomfort, something unexpected happens. The urge fades. Emotion, when not fed by behavior, burns itself out. This is when you realize a dangerous truth. Most reactions were never necessary. They were habits. And habits, once exposed, can be broken. Men who never learn this remain permanently readable. Their triggers define them. Their enemies write their script. But a man who can feel without reacting creates a rupture in the pattern. And in that rupture, power begins to collect. Once reaction slows, something unfamiliar takes its place. Opacity. Most people broadcast constantly. Their faces reveal irritation before words form. Their posture shifts with insecurity. Their tone leaks in tension. They do this unconsciously, believing transparency equals honesty. In reality, it equals exposure. The human mind is a prediction engine. It is always scanning for patterns, for tells, for signals that reduce uncertainty. When those signals disappear, the mind becomes unstable. This is the black box, a system that produces output without revealing its internal process. When someone cannot read your emotional state, they cannot anticipate your behavior. When they cannot anticipate your behavior, they lose leverage. This is deeply unsettling to reactive people. They are accustomed to feedback loops. They provoke and watch, adjust and escalate, withdraw and test. But when nothing comes back, no visible irritation, no reassurance, no explanation, the loop collapses. They begin to project. Are you angry? Are you plotting? Are you judging me? Do you feel superior? The truth is irrelevant. Projection fills the silence, and projection always reveals the projector. This is why unreadable men appear intimidating without trying to be, not because they threaten, but because they deny certainty. Certainty is comfort. Uncertainty is stress. In environments shaped by dominance, the one who controls uncertainty controls the frame. You are no longer reacting to the room. The room is reacting to you. This does not require deception. It requires containment. You are not hiding emotion. You are withholding access. There is a difference. Hiding implies fear. Withholding implies choice. Your internal state becomes private property. Not everyone earns a window into it. This boundary is rarely respected at first. People push harder. They test more aggressively. They escalate emotion to force a response. Stay still. The escalation is the signal that the tactic is failing. Those who rely on reaction become anxious when reaction is denied. They mistake silence for threat, and in that misinterpretation, they reveal their dependency. The black box is not a performance. It is not a mask. It is the natural outcome of a man who no longer externalizes his inner weather. When your inner life is no longer available on demand, your presence gains weight. Words become deliberate. Movements become economical. Attention becomes focused. You are no longer a surface to be manipulated. You are depth, and depth cannot be skimmed. This is where unreadability begins to separate men permanently. Some will adapt. They will approach with respect, curiosity, restraint. Others will retreat. They were never interested in you, only in access. Unreadability is the first filter, and like all filters, it removes more than it keeps. At this stage, many men misunderstand what is happening inside them. They assume they are becoming colder, detached, less human. They are wrong. What is forming is not numbness, it is structure. Most people confuse suppression with control. They push emotion down, pretend it is not there, and hope discipline will hold. It never does. Suppressed emotion leaks. It sharpens the tongue. It tightens the jaw. It explodes at the wrong moment. Containment is different. Containment acknowledges emotion fully without granting it command. You feel irritation rise, and you let it exist. You feel fear tighten the body, and you stay present. You feel the urge to assert, defend, dominate, and you do nothing, not because you are weak, because you are sovereign. This is the emotional citadel, a fortified inner space where feelings are experienced but not weaponized against yourself. Inside this citadel, emotion becomes information rather than impulse. Anger tells you where boundaries are being crossed. Fear signals risk. Desire reveals priorities, but none of them decide action alone. Action is decided from a higher level. This is why unreadable men appear calm under pressure. They are not empty, they are layered. The outer layer is stillness. The inner layers are alive but protected. Most men live inverted. Their inner life is exposed, reactive, visible. Their outer posture is defensive, performative, loud. You reverse this. Your exterior becomes quiet. Your interior becomes organized. This inversion confuses people. They expect emotion to leak outward. When it doesn't, they assume something is being hidden. They grow uneasy. In truth, nothing is hidden. It is contained. Containment is the difference between a wildfire and a furnace. One destroys indiscriminately. The other produces controlled power. History favored men who understood this distinction. Those who ruled through constant display burned out quickly. Those who ruled through composure endured. The emotional citadel also protects you from another trap. The illusion that you must resolve every tension immediately. You do not. Tension is not an emergency. It is a test. Most people rush to relieve it through explanation, apology, or escalation. They trade leverage for relief. You stop doing this. You let tension sit. You let silence stretch. You allow others to feel their discomfort without rescuing them from it. This is not cruelty, it is maturity. When you no longer rush to regulate the emotional states of others, power redistributes naturally. You are no longer carrying the room. The room must adjust to you. This is why emotional containment terrifies reactive men. They are used to pushing until something gives. When nothing does, they are forced to confront their own instability. And that confrontation is something they spend their lives avoiding. The citadel holds, and from its walls, a new tactic becomes possible. Absence. Once your inner world is contained, presence becomes optional. This is where the dynamic truly shifts. Most men believe power comes from being seen, from visibility, from constant assertion. They are wrong. Power often comes from removal. When you are always present, always responding, always engaging, you become predictable. Your availability turns you into background noise. Absence interrupts this. Not disappearance driven by fear or avoidance, but strategic withdrawal. You stop filling every silence. You stop replying instantly. You stop participating in conversations that offer no return. This creates a vacuum, and vacuums demand explanation. People begin to notice the lack. They ask where you went. They replay interactions, searching for the moment they lost access. Silence becomes loud. This is why absence unsettles reactive men more than confrontation ever could. Confrontation gives them engagement. Absence gives them uncertainty. When you are not present, they cannot read you. When they cannot read you, they cannot predict you. When they cannot predict you, they cannot control outcomes. Your absence forces reflection. Did I overstep? Did I misjudge him? Did I lose position? You say nothing. Let the questions work. This is not manipulation. It is consequence. You are no longer available for trivial access. You are no longer on standby. Your time has weight now. Absence also reveals hierarchy. Those who matter will adapt. They will reach out with clarity, respect, purpose. Those who relied on your reactions will grow agitated. They will escalate. They will provoke more aggressively to pull you back in. This is the test. Do not return to explain yourself. Returning prematurely collapses the effect. It teaches them that pressure restores access. Let absence finish its work. In social dynamics, silence functions like darkness. It reveals who is comfortable without control and who is not. Those who cannot tolerate it expose themselves. They speak louder, they posture, they accuse. All of this is information. You learn who depended on your presence to feel stable. Strategic absence is not permanent isolation. It is selective engagement. You return when it serves your purpose. When the frame has shifted, when the dynamic has recalibrated, and when you do return, something has changed. Your words land heavier. Your attention feels deliberate. Your presence feels earned. You are no longer a constant. You are an event. This is the art of stepping back without retreating, and it leads directly into the most dangerous mistake most men make once they gain composure. The need to be right. Once you become unreadable, a quieter enemy emerges. It does not shout, it flatters. The ego senses progress and rushes to claim it. You notice it in subtle impulses. The desire to correct others, to clarify your position, to prove that your silence is intentional, not weakness. This is the trap. Unreadability collapses the moment you need to be understood. Most men are not enslaved by emotion alone. They are enslaved by identity. They need to be seen as intelligent, as dominant, as morally superior. So when someone misinterprets them, irritation rises. The urge to set the record straight appears. This urge is fatal. The moment you argue to be right, you surrender frame. You step back into reaction. You re-enter the puppet dynamic under a different costume. Ego disguises itself as principle. You tell yourself you are defending truth, correcting misinformation, maintaining standards. But watch carefully. If the explanation is unnecessary, if the correction does not change outcome, if silence would preserve leverage, then ego is driving. Reactive men crave resolution. They need agreement, submission, or victory to feel settled. Unreadable men tolerate ambiguity. They allow others to be wrong about them. They allow false narratives to circulate without correction. They allow misunderstanding to exist, not because they lack self-respect, because they understand something most men never learn. Being right is expensive. It costs time. It costs energy. It costs position. Every argument reveals priorities. Every explanation reveals motive. Every defense reveals insecurity. The man who speaks the least controls the most variables. This is why stillness terrifies men who live through assertion. They mistake silence for weakness because they cannot imagine strength without expression. You no longer need validation to stabilize identity. You know who you are. You know what you are capable of. You know what you are building. That knowledge does not require witnesses. When accusations come, you do not rush to disprove them. When challenged, you do not escalate. When provoked, you do not take the bait. You respond only when response serves structure. Everything else is noise. This discipline is not passive. It is active restraint. Like holding a weapon you do not need to draw. The lion does not argue with the barking dog, not because the dog is beneath him, but because engagement would lower him into the dog's world. This is the final ego death. The moment you no longer need to win the moment to protect the self. And once that need dissolves, something unmistakable happens. Your presence becomes heavy. Not intimidating, not aggressive, unavoidable. There is a final distinction that determines whether unreadability becomes power or isolation. Stillness, not inactivity, not passivity. Stillness. Most men are in motion even when they are standing still. Their faces twitch with reaction. Their eyes search for validation. Their posture leaks intention. They are constantly broadcasting. Stillness removes the broadcast. When your body no longer rushes to signal emotion, others lose their reference point. They do not know whether you approve, disapprove, agree, or disengage. This ambiguity is deeply destabilizing to reactive men. They are accustomed to measuring dominance through response, a flinch, a reply, a raised voice. When none appears, they escalate. Louder words, bolder gestures, provocations sharpened to force movement. This is the moment most men break. They respond to prove they are not weak. You do not. You remain composed. And in that composure, hierarchy rearranges itself. In every social system, the one who reacts least holds the highest position, not by title, but by gravity. This is why animals understand something humans forget. The dog moves constantly. The lion does not. The dog scans, barks, circles, reacts. The lion rests until action is necessary. When action comes, it is decisive. Stillness communicates surplus capacity. It tells the nervous system of others that you are not operating at the edge, that you are not threatened, that you do not need to perform. This triggers discomfort. Men who live through reaction experience your stillness as judgment even when none exists. They feel seen without being able to see back. They project motives onto you. He thinks he's better. He's hiding something. He's calculating. Let them think it. Projection is the mind attempting to regain control. Stillness also tests authenticity. Those who respect themselves will adjust their behavior. They will slow down. They will speak more carefully. They will engage with intention. Those who depend on dominance through noise will grow hostile. They cannot tolerate environments they do not control. This is not your problem. Stillness is not a tactic. It is a byproduct of internal order. You no longer need to fill space because you are no longer empty. You no longer chase reaction because you are no longer reactive. And once this stillness stabilizes, your presence changes permanently. You are no longer part of the emotional weather. You are the climate, and climates do not argue with storms. They endure. One final truth remains. Unreadability is not about hiding forever. It is about choosing when to be seen. And that choice, the ability to reveal or withhold at will, is what separates men who are acted upon from men who act. There is a misunderstanding that surrounds this skill. People assume unreadability is about deception, about masks, about manipulation. It is not. Unreadability is the natural consequence of internal authority. When your emotional state no longer leaks outward, when your reactions are no longer automatic, when your identity no longer requires constant confirmation, something fundamental changes. You stop being easy to access, and anything that cannot be easily accessed must be approached with care. This is why unreadable men are treated differently. Not because they dominate, but because they do not offer handles. They cannot be pulled into arguments. They cannot be baited into displays. They cannot be rushed into decisions they have not chosen. Their inner world is no longer public infrastructure. It is sovereign territory. This sovereignty carries a cost. You will not be as immediately liked. You will not be universally understood. You will not be able to rely on charm or emotional transparency to smooth every interaction. But what you gain is something far rarer. You gain freedom from reaction. You are no longer living one step behind the world, responding to whatever touches you next. You are no longer governed by provocation, approval, or pressure. You move when movement serves you. You speak when speech creates structure. You act when action is necessary. And when you do nothing, it is because nothing is required. This is not detachment from life. It is engagement on your terms. Unreadability does not make you cold. It makes you precise. It does not remove emotion. It places emotion under command. It does not isolate you. It filters your environment until only what respects your presence remains. Most men never reach this point. They confuse expression with strength, reaction with honesty, noise with power. They live exposed. You do not. You learn to hold tension without discharging it, to let silence do work words never could, to remain still while others reveal themselves. And in doing so, you become something that unsettles men who live through reaction, not because you threaten them, but because you remind them without saying a word of what it feels like to be ungoverned. This is the power of being unreadable, not as a tactic, but as a state of being.